Hi everyone, I'm Bogdan Ripa. I'm part of the product team at UiPath. If we can get the computer up, that would be great. So it was funny because Remus was earlier here. He showed you, he gave you a little bit of an overview of the components that we have as a product. And I'm actually going to show you those components, and I'm actually going to show you how that works. So it's going to be a live demo. I think I have internet connection, so everything should be fine. Before we get started, can we get the computer up? Yep. It used to be there. Okay. Never mind. I'm not going to go into presenter mode. That was the problem. Okay, so the first thing that I wanted to tell you is that we, as a company, we really want to make sure that everybody has access to our tools and our products and that everybody can build automations. And that's very important for us. And that's why for a while now, we started giving away our product for free. We have a community version of the product, and I don't know how many of you have tried the product so far. Have you seen it? Okay, so a few people. That's good. So we do have a community version of our product that you can go to our website and download it and play with it. You create an account that's going to give you a cloud account where we host the Orchestrator, as Remus was saying, and then you can download our product. You need to be a Windows user, unfortunately for some of you. It runs on Windows. The IDE, the UiPath Studio runs on Windows, and the robots themselves, they run on Windows as well. And part of the reason why that is because actually a lot of our customers, they use Windows. In the enterprise world, unlike in the development or design world, Windows is still the #1 operating system that is being used, especially by the type of people that do all this repetitive type work that we help automate. So, I urge you to go there and try it. Now, the components, Remus mentioned that. So we have a quick recap. We have UiPath Studio, and that's our IDE. This is what the tool that is being used by the people that we call RPA developers. And UiPath Studio is the tool to build automations. Once you build those automations, you can run them, or you can publish them to UiPath Orchestrator. And I will show you in a second how to do that. And in Orchestrator, you see all your automations, and that's where you can run schedulers. You can say, maybe you need to build a report and send it to email every day at 9 a.m., right? That's where you would schedule it. In Orchestrator is where you have your credentials. If you want to have shared credentials across multiple robots, you can store them in Orchestrator. It's where you store assets, and it's where you do all your governance. Governance is security for those of us, me included a while ago, that don't know what that means. And then Orchestrator, what it does is that it then sends those automations to the robots and provisions those robots and makes the robot actually run the automations whenever you need to run them in what we call an unattended fashion. Unattended meaning you don't need a human to attend the robot while the execution happens. While I'm developing, I'm attended the robot because I'm the one actually developing it. So let's go ahead and build something, because that's the fun. Let's see. This is UiPath Studio. So once you install it, you open it, you basically end up here. There's no recent project, but you can go and create a new process, what we call a new project, right? And this is going to be your automation. Now, the automation that I will build will be the following. I want to go to google.com using IE or Chrome. Let's say Chrome. I want to search for a specific exchange rate, like euro $2 exchange rate. I want to get that value, okay? And then I want to store that value somewhere. Let's say in Orchestrator as an asset for other processes, other robots to use, okay? And I will want to run this every day at 9 a.m. I want to run this automation. And we're going to build that from scratch. So I have the process that I created. It's an empty process, okay? When you create a process, it's empty. It just says sequence. That's it. Here on the left side, we have what we call activities. Activities are the building blocks of your automation. Okay, those are the steps that me as a user I would take. So the process, the task that I told you about earlier, it starts with me opening a browser. So I'll go here, and I will search for open browser. Very simple, right? And I have this activity called open browser. Now it's going to ask me for a URL, and I will say https://.google.com. Okay? Simple until now. And I will tell it, on the right side here, I have the properties, like a properties panel. And I say, I want to use Chrome for this. And now I can actually run it, see what's happening when I run it. So when I run it, the robot started executed. Okay, it was fast. And it opened a browser on google.com. Okay, that's it. That's what the robot did. That's my automation so far. The next step is going to be, once I open Google, what do? I start typing something here. So I want to type something. So I go back here, and I say, I want to type. Okay, type into. So I drag this activity, we call this activities. I type it here, and it asks me to identify the element where I want to type. And I click this, and you can see here what's interesting is that we are highlighting the areas that you can interact with. And we're doing this by really understanding the type of applications that you have on your desktop. There's multiple application types, WPF, Java, web applications, and so forth. Different types of applications, you interact differently with them. But we still can go and look at this at my desktop like in a 3D view where I can see the UI tree of everything that sits on my desktop. So even these icons here, you can see they get highlighted. In my case, what I want to do is click on this text field. This is where I want to insert. This is where I want to type something. So I click here, and then the text that I want to type, I will just say euro to USD, euro to dollars. Okay? And once I've done that, let's see what's happening when I start typing. Euro to dollars. Okay? You see, well, actually, I already have a result here, but let's say we don't have that. I want to click the search button. Okay, I could send a keyboard event, a enter keyboard event, if I want to, but in this case, what I want to do is click a button. So I go back into Studio and I say, I want to click. That's the next step in my automation. So I drag this one here, and it asks me again, where do you want to click? I say, I want to click here on the search button. Okay. So now we're here, we opened the browser, we did a search, and we clicked on something. Let's close this one, and let's run the automation again. Let's see what's happening. So now hands-free, it is searching. It did a search, and it actually came back with this page. So what we have, we call it driver, but really we're emulating a keyboard and a mouse, hardware events. It's like you actually had a keyboard and a mouse attached to your computer. So when we type, we send, like, from on your USB keyboard, we actually send those keyboard events to the application that is listening, to the element that is in focus. When I click something, the mouse moves on the screen and clicks on that something. We could also do more like API level integration, but in this case, what's happening is really, emulating a mouse and a keyboard. And the next thing I want to do is get this value. Okay, 1.13 here. And again, there's an activity for that, quite intuitive. It's called get text, because I want to get the text from the screen. So I add it here, it asks me, where do you want to get the text from? I want to get the text from here. And this text, what am I doing with it? The output, I can save it in a variable. So I want to create a variable, I will call it exchange rate, exchange. The type is string. Okay, I have a variable now. So the output here is going to be the exchange variable. And I might also want to show it. So I will, we have a way to display message boxes. So I will add a message box. I could also write line if I want to just put it in the output panel here. But I want to display the exchange rate. And you've seen code hinting, code completion, and we have debugging capabilities as well. But we're not going to get into those level of details. So now it will do the same thing. Open Google, go to this page, and you see here this message box. It says 1.13, which is the value that it got from here. So that works pretty well. Okay, my job is almost done. What I said that I want to do next was to schedule this automation to run on a regular basis, okay, on every day if I want to. So if I go here, what I can do now is that I can publish this automation. And because I have my version of Studio now is connected to Orchestrator, which sits somewhere in the cloud, I can actually publish it to Orchestrator. It gives me a new version, so we have all the versioning capabilities. I say, okay, publish it. It's done, it's published. And now I will log into Orchestrator. So I go to platform.uipath.com. I'm already logged in. And here, one of the services that we have is, this is the cloud platform that we have. And part of the cloud platform, we have the Orchestrator instances. So I click on it, and the second it opens, it will show me my dashboard for Orchestrator. And this is where I have my robots. The robots are the actual execution units. I can have multiple computers. I have here, there you go. I have 4 computers. One of them is actually busy right now running a process. I have a process that I built where my Amazon camera turns off when somebody leaves home, so I believe that my wife left home, and now the camera is turning off. But this is my robot here. This is my development robot. And here, under processes, you can see the process that I've built, the exchange rate process, and you can see that it has an update that is available. So I published it before. Now what I can do is go here under version management and say, yeah, I want to update it to this version, 102. And now from Orchestrator, so I could run this on a different machine, I could be somewhere else. If I go here under jobs, I can say, I want to start a process. It's the exchange rate process, okay, on this specific robot. I want it to run on this robot. And when I hit start, what will happen is that now Orchestrator that is on the cloud will talk to my computer that has the robot installed, tell it to go download that version of the automation and run it. So it basically ran, I started the execution remotely from the server side in this case. But I don't like it yet because it leaves the computer unclean. The browser continues to be opened, and then there's this message box that interrupts me from whatever I was doing maybe. So instead of having a message box, I will write the value, the exchange rate value, back into Orchestrator as an asset. Okay? So in Orchestrator we have this concept of assets, and I've previously defined here an asset called exchange rate. Okay? Let me reset its value. Right, so I want to update this now in the cloud. So I tell my process here to set the value of an asset, and the asset name will be exchange rate, and the value is the variable exchange. There we go. Okay, and once it's done, I also wanted to close that browser window. So I have closed tab. And I just put it here and will automatically know that the tab it closes is the one that it just opened. So now if I run it again, it should just do the search, get the value, close the tab. That's fine. So now I will publish it again. It's going to be version 103. We have semantic versioning as a capability. So if I go here in Orchestrator, let's refresh this, see if it worked. Yeah, it worked. 1.13 again. I will update the process again because it has the newer version that I just updated. There we go. And then what I can do is set a schedule. So here under schedules, I can come and say, okay, I want to add a new schedule, and I give it a name, get exchange rate. Okay. The process that it runs is the one that I've just developed, exchange rate. Time zone, I want it to execute, let's see, I want it to execute weekly, daily, let's say, every day at 8 a.m., okay? And the execution target, where I want to execute it is, I want to execute it on one robot, okay? I can specify the robot where I want it to get executed, or I can just say execute it once on whatever robot is available, because maybe my computer is going to be turned off, when this wants to execute, and then it will execute somewhere else. I have another robot that I have connected to this instance is somewhere in Azure, I think, is a virtual machine in Azure, so it will pick that one up if I'm not available. So it knows how to do that distribution. I create it, and that should be it. Okay, now I have this scheduler that will run at 8 a.m., which is in 15 hours, so every day it will just go ahead and do that. So this is, there's one more thing that I actually wanted to show you. It's around how do we detect those UI elements that we are interacting with, okay? And in this case, let me add a breakpoint here. Let me run this in debug mode. Okay, so this will open the open my browser and just stop here, okay? And now I'll just stop the process so that I have the browser opened. Okay, I have the browser opened right now. Now, if I look at this type into, we have this concept that we call selectors, and the selector is think about it as the XPath or the CSS selector to reach a particular element on the screen. So if I come here, the way I use this indicate, so I indicated, I told it this is where the element is. But what we do in the background is that we generate a selector, a path to that specific element. And now if I come and edit it, I don't know how well you can see it here, but it says that it's like an XML. It says that you go to the HTML application that is chrome.exe that has this URL on google.com, and within that application search for a web control, a control name that's named Q that has the tag input. So input name Q. It will identify that one, so that's how it knows where to click. And I can go even further, and I can explore the UI. These are all the root elements of that specific element, and I can choose to say, yeah, I want to use the parent element as well. I don't like the fact that it has a weird CSS selector, but I can add more stuff. For example, the class name, right, to this element, and this is how this element is going to be identified. Okay, it knows how to look not just for a specific leaf, but also all the branches up in the UI tree. And this is how we do the identification of those elements. And if I highlight it, you can see it being highlighted, so I know that it's actually working. And there's a lot more to it, but again, I suggest that you just go and download the product and play with it. There's a lot of automations that you can think for yourselves. It doesn't necessarily have to be work-related. Like I told you, I have built a few for myself to make my life easier, so I don't have to use an app every time I go home or leave home. It's all automated now. We have 2 minutes left. I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions. Yeah. How do you control the speed of the automation? That's the question. When you create a new automation, we don't go as fast as possible. But that's because usually a lot of the applications, if you go too fast, they will break. We've had such problems before. But every activity, especially the ones that interact with the UI, there are ways to configure them. So for example, this type activity, you have a delay after and a delay before. This is how many milliseconds should I wait before actually typing or after typing. And there's other options like the delay between keys. Okay, so I can say no delay, and then it's just going to throw in all the text, versus just leave 20 milliseconds before each keystroke. And this is how you can go very, very fast or very, very slow. And I should have, I can show you one automation that goes extremely, extremely fast. We have this website called rpachallenge.com. You go there, and the goal is to go as fast as possible and be as accurate as possible to type in some data into a file and into a web page. Yeah, that's it. That's how fast it can go. This is the fastest probably it can go. Yeah. Yep. The question is, how secure is it? So here I'm automating something that I can already do with my keyboard and mouse. Okay, so from a security standpoint, the robot will not have access to anything else than what I have access to, or whatever user it logs in into Windows, whatever that user can do, the robot can do. It won't be able to do more because, it's emulating a human person. It does exactly what a human person does. Yeah.
Is it possible to use scripts along with the process?
By scripts, you mean code that you put in to do? Okay, yeah. We do have those capabilities embedded in the product. We have a number of, some activities. If I type in invoke, I can invoke a VBA code. I can invoke PowerShell. I can invoke Java code. I can invoke Python code as well, or C#. if I want to. So you can do that, or you can just call a third-party application, just launch an app and then wait for it to come back if that's how you, yeah. You can even run macros in Excel if that's what you want to do as code that you're invoking. Yep. Yeah, so the question is, can we use these capabilities for testing as well, compared to something like Selenium? So Selenium is a great tool. It is a developer's tool. You have to know how to write some code, and it only works on web interfaces. What we have here, it actually works across web and desktop. So you can automate, what I showed you is web, but you can do exactly the same thing for desktop applications. Now what you build as a process, you can then package in a way and call it a test, and then you can run it as a test. Yes, that is true, you could do that. And actually we do have customers that use our product for test automation. That just, I could write a process that just goes on I don't know, emag.ro, goes, adds a product to the cart, checks out, sees that everything is okay, and does that every 5 minutes, just to make sure that the checkout experience continues to work fine. I could easily do that. When you export when I'm publishing something from our product, what we export is a NuGet package, and then you need the ability to run that NuGet package. It has a lot of dependencies. It can get complicated. In order to run it, you need to have the robot and the robot capabilities, and obviously a license to be able to run those processes. So it's not script, it's not code that you're exporting and then you can run completely separately from what we have. One more question and then we'll have a panel. There's going to be more time and then I'll also be around for more questions. Yeah.
Hello. I have a question about the UIPad Designer, since it looks very similar to the SharePoint workflow. How do you manage instances that are already running and when you start to upgrade to a new version?
When you upgrade the tool itself,
the entire process. If you just published a 1.03, what happens with running instances of 1.02?
The running, okay, yeah. So the question is, if I have a package, an automation that I've built, it's running, and then I come with a newer version. The newer version will, the existing version will continue to run and execute with the old, whatever it started with, and when that same automation will be rescheduled to run, it will first download the newer version of the process and then run with the newer version. So we're not going to stop in the middle. We're going to continue the execution until it's done, and then the next time it runs, it will run with the newer version. Yep. Thank you.
Good stuff, man. Great to hear you.
Thank you.